In the early 15th century, the old Swiss Confederacy was less a unified nation and more a fragile, decentralized web of mutual defense pacts. Looking at this map of the region, the northern cantons, places like Lucerne, Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden, formed the original loose core of this alliance. Just to the south lies the Valais region, seen here as a deep geographic trench separating the Pennine and Bernese Alps. For centuries, the communities inside this valley maintained a fierce, localized independence. That independence came under threat when a local noble family, the Rarons, began rapidly consolidating land and power, eventually capturing the highest regional office, the bishopric of Sion. To cement their rule, the Rarons secured political backing from the Holy Roman Emperor and military support from the Duke of Savoy, positioning themselves to become absolute feudal lords over the entire valley. The local peasant communities, organized into administrative districts known as Zehnden, refused to submit to this new hierarchy. In 1415, they formed a resistance group called the Society of the Dog and launched an armed rebellion against the Raron family. Because of the overlapping treaties tying the valley to the broader confederation, this localized peasant revolt functioned as a match dropped into a geopolitical powder keg. The rebels struck quickly, besieging Seta Castle and forcing the sitting bishop, Witschard of Raron, into permanent exile by 1417. This diagram tracks the immediate fallout. Witschard leveraged external connections, drawing a direct line of military support from the Duchy of Savoy. In response, the Valais rebels formed defensive nodes, signing mutual defense treaties with the northern cantons of Lucerne, Uri, and Unterwalden. These Swiss allies mobilized immediately, launching a proxy campaign that successfully drove the Savoyard troops out of the neighboring Osola Valley. Outmaneuvered, the Rarons activated their final failsafe. Because they held citizenship in Bern, they formally called upon the city for protection. As Bern entered the network on the Rarons' behalf, a dividing line cut the entire Swiss Confederation into two opposing military camps. Attempts by neutral cantons to negotiate peace in Zurich collapsed entirely when the two sides could not agree on financial reparations, clearing the path for open combat. The Confederacy's decentralized design had effectively paralyzed it, forcing individual members into a proxy war against each other over a single family's ambitions. In the fall of 1419, Bern launched a massive punitive invasion. An army of roughly 13,000 men marched over the Grimsel Pass and descended into the Valais. The Bernese employed a scorched earth campaign to break the rebellion, burning peasant villages and plundering resources as they advanced deeper into the canton. Outnumbered and losing ground, the local militias retreated up the valley to the village of Ulriken, selecting a narrow choke point for a final ambush. This visualization highlights the severe disparity on the ground. A coalition of 13,000 well-equipped invaders advancing on a defensive line of at most 600 local Valaisan militia. Led by Thomas Branchen, the militia rallied beneath the banner of Liège, a standard bearing two lions, and engaged the vanguard of the invading army. Despite the staggering numerical disadvantage, the rebels fought the Bernese to a bloody standstill. With casualties mounting and winter storms threatening to trap them in the mountains, the invading army abandoned the campaign and withdrew. The militia's stand at Ulriken proved too costly for Bern to sustain. Unable to achieve a swift military victory, the invaders were forced back to the negotiating table. In January 1420, the warring factions met in Zug, with the Duke of Savoy acting as a mediator to formalize a peace treaty. The Valais rebels agreed to pay massive financial reparations to Bern, the bishop, and the Savoyards, but in exchange, they secured their right to local self-governance. With his authority shattered and his fortresses, like the ones pictured here, reduced to ruins, the Baron of Raron abandoned the region entirely, marking the end of localized feudal lordship in the Valais. For the wider confederation, the Raron Affair provided a stark political lesson. Allowing individual cantons to form external military pacts and wage proxy wars against each other had almost destroyed their entire network. To survive, the member states established a new legal precedent. The collective security and unity of the Confederation had to supersede the individual alliances of any single canton. By surviving a brutal internal conflict, These Alpine communities laid the institutional groundwork that would eventually evolve into the unified, strictly neutral Switzerland we recognize today.